Alright, sup fellow citizens, welcome back to the Path of Rage and our next episode of our Star Citizen Weekly Briefing. We got a little bit to talk about today with the 4.4 PTU patch having gone live for Evocati, which I can only talk about and not show you footage of because it is still under NDA. The engineering tech test went live for a few hours, and we have a few dev responses regarding Maelstrom, the destruction system in Star Citizen, base building and land claims, and crafting to boot. We got a little bit to talk about, so let's get stuck in. Now, first things first, I won't bury the lead. The 4.4 alpha has gone to the PTU, and it brings along our third star system, but also a return of an old star system, which is somewhat oxymoronic. It's new in that Nyx is the newest system to be added, slightly impartially, but it's the beginning, and as they said at CitizenCon Direct, they're going to expand it throughout the coming year. But as of the current build that's available to Evocati right now, Nyx has been added. It includes Delamar with the new landing zone Levki, which is why I say it's an old system, because Levki was in the game long before any of the other landing zones. And we also have the new jump points. However, the first, second, and third planets of the Nyx system are not in the core system yet. Again, they're going to be adding to it for the rest of the year. And they also had the first versions of the cross-system hauling missions and the exterior freight elevators that are partially functioning, but they are not collecting feedback on that just yet. They added some new ship changes, including changes to the PDTs for the personal defense targeting and cannons. These guns, the alpha damage has been cut in half, resulting in an overall DPS increase, and their mass has been lowered because their previous weight was too high. Somewhat ironically, maybe, missiles and torpedoes damage or changes have been made as well, considering that they're the things that PDTs are supposed to protect against. There's obviously reasons for this, but it seems odd to me. Sound off in the comments below if you've made huge use of torpedoes, especially. I haven't. So let me know how this will affect you in game from what you can tell. But missile health has been reduced by approximately 50% as well as the PDTs were. And torpedo health has been reduced, although in this case it's only 33% less of the overall HP that they had. And this is all to bring the PDTs and the missiles in line with each other. And from what Evocati chat was saying, the PDTs were a little bit too damaging against other ships. They would fire off against ships and they shouldn't be. So that is all of kind of bringing them back into line for the defensive measures that they are, and also to make the missiles and the torpedoes not quite so overpowered, I guess. We'll have to see how it balances out, like always. But there's also been a few additional ship updates. The Anvil F8C Lightning got buffed 4Gs in roll angular speed. They made slight adjustments to the angular acceleration of the Anvil Hawk, Arrow, and the Asperia Scythe. And medium interceptors got a slight improvement to their flight performance for ships like the Saber, Raven, and Firebird, the Buccaneer, the Mantis, the Herald, etc. Now, when it comes to the overall feel of the new system, Nyx, it was very nostalgic in more than one way. Nostalgic because Levki is pretty much exactly the way it used to be. Some of the mission givers are still not there as they're working on them. It's more populated with NPCs, but a lot of them are bugging out. But it was really nostalgic in two ways. One, it looks the same, and it feels good to be back in Levki. But it also has the prior performance of Levki, where even on my machine, I was getting 20s and low 30s at maximum for the frame rate in and around the Levki landing zone. Now, once you got out of the main areas and into the what seems like miles of hallways for this rather large landing zone, it's bigger than you think. There's just a lot of hallways. Once you get out of the main area, that frame rate goes up a little bit, and especially once you leave and you go out into the Glacium Belt and the other areas of the system that are available to us, the frame rate does rise, but Levski itself is still acting the way it used to years ago when it was still in Stanton. Now, the hangars at Levski were crashing quite frequently, and they suggested that it might be a one-way trip to land at Levski for now. My experience was that the hangars worked, but once you left Levski, unless somebody gave you a friend beacon to come to, like join their squad or what, you couldn't find Levski on the map to quantum back to it. Also in the known issues, the top 3, surprise, surprise, all involved instance hangars and elevators. Go figure. The players are unable to lower the freight elevator again. The instance hangars are staying closed when people are requesting to leave, or their hangars are despawning after being requested for reasons unknown. I had this one happen to me, and then I had to claim the ship that was in it. Now, I won't go through all the bugs that were in this patch, but they were fairly numerous. I found the exploration of Nyx to be fun. I really like the way the Glacium belt looks different from the asteroid field around Yela. They're noticeably different. The Glacium belt is much more jagged looking. Things are moving. There are bands, basically, like you can see off in the distance where these bands of asteroids are like following each other in a line. They move a bit. Again, they look more spiky. There, it's a very big difference, and it's much more dense, especially with the nebula that the whole system seems to be in. So you always seem like you're flying through a bit of a cloud with asteroids popping out in front of you in certain places. I was not able to come across any of the Vanduul in the time that I had to play it. I don't know if they're into the system yet, although I've heard from others that they did find them. So let me know in the comments below if you're Evocati and you did manage to see them. And I also found a lot of bugs in and around Levski itself, like invisible barriers between doors. So trying to enter, say, corduroys to buy armor or weapons and whatnot, you had to find where this invisible blockage was in the door and kind of jump around it to get in and out. If you went through other certain doors, your graphics would change and you'd suddenly be staring out into space. We've all seen these things before. Levski is a brand new system coming back in, aside from the landing zone, but it is being updated to the new metrics, so this is to be expected. But one big one, and it is mentioned in the known issues, is that the social AI in the landing zones in Levski are killing each other for no reason. And I don't know what's causing it. I was walking into Cafe Museum when suddenly every NPC in the place pulled out their weapons and started shooting at each other. And I just stood there wondering what in the hell was going on. They never shot at any of the players that I could see, but they suddenly went full aggro on each other and went on a murder spree. It was funny as hell. Now, apparently this new branch currently contains nearly 140 bug fixes that are occurring in 4.3.2 on the live build, including a fix for commodities being unable to be sold at TDD locations, a potential fix to distortion weapons not giving any distortion damage, mission names and descriptions being blank in the contract manager, and obviously quite a few more. I'm not going to go read them all. I will link the patch notes below in the description if you want to check them all out for yourself. Now, moving on to the next news of interest, there was in fact a tech preview test for engineering over the weekend, which I unfortunately was not able to get in on. I do have a full-time job, and by the time they released that patch, I was long in bed because I had to get up at 5 o'clock the next morning. However, early results from what I'm hearing is that people are liking it, they see where it's going, but one big thing that everyone was really talking about is that this new engineering, when it comes in, is pretty much going to make soloing large and capital ships an absolute impossibility. You just will not be able to do it. There's too much involved in these capital ships, especially with the engineering and where the engineering pads are going to be and how to handle engineering, that it will just be impossible. So I don't know what all you guys who have spent thousands of dollars on capital ships are going to do. I hope that you have orgs that people can come on your ship and game with you and fix and repair your ship or help you out running it, because you're not going to be able to do it solo. Now, what I saw being discussed is that people were able to control the doors, control the temperature, control the air, I believe, change the fuses. It wasn't the full engineering that we've had before, but some of it was more stable than what we've had before. Others seemed a bit more unstable. There was, of course, a lot of crashing. But overall, the vibe that I'm getting as someone who's hearing about it third hand from Evocati and online where it's been leaking out, is that overall it's in a good place. It's moving towards a good place, but it's not ready yet. So I'll be interested in seeing how that plays out and how that affects the game, and hopefully I'll be able to get in on the next tech test to, you know, get my hands on it, be able to give you guys an actual hands-on viewpoint. And finally, we have some dev responses on a few key topics that we don't hear too much about right now because they're mostly upcoming features. But one was about Maelstrom, another was about homesteading and land claims, and finally was on crafting. But first off, regarding Maelstrom, that is the physicalized damage system that Star Citizen intends to use in the future. We've seen it shown off on CitizenCon a few times. Somebody was asking in the Spectrum forums, how's it doing? Like, where are they over with the last few years of work? To which Chris Beckford replied that it's going well, but it does take considerable care and consideration to implement because it changes fundamental things in the game. And tech-wise, right now, they're focusing on performance and networking optimization. And he pointed out that the focus of Maelstrom is ships and structures, that he's excited for how this new system can be used to a variety of purposes and how the artists and designers are going to use it. But he did clarify that this isn't quite compatible with the planet tech, and it doesn't directly open up planet sculpting. Now, he points out that Will Hain, aka the Moist Master, he showed a clip way earlier in ISC, I believe, where the planet was deformed into craters because of bombs, but he doesn't know if anything came of that or if it was just a fun prototype. But I personally do wonder where Maelstrom is going to go, the level of destruction that will be allowed, and what happens after you destroy, say, a derelict settlement, or not even a derelict, a full settlement, and you start knocking down walls and all that. If it's an NPC settlement, does it just, after a certain amount of time, magically reappear undamaged? Or does it stay that way until another person comes and fixes it? I've never heard them say how that's going to be handled. I wonder when that question will be answered for us. Now, the next big question that was asked was about homesteading and land claims and how they will work. And I think his name is Declan from CIG. He responded to this one as well. And he said that within a region, for example, the US or Europe, a copy of everybody's land claims and bases will exist on all the shards. So the same land cannot be claimed by two different people. If the owner has opened up the base to the public, you can access their player-run store or on any copy of the base and use their crafting and refining facilities if they give you permission to do so. And for the stores, the inventory of what's on sale is shared across all the shards. This, however, changes when it comes to raiding a base, which can only occur on a single shard. Now, it's dynamic depending on the circumstances which shard this happens on. And an easy example of this is if you're online and you own a base, then the shard you're on is the only shard where that base can be raided. If you attempt to attack a base and you're not on the correct shard, you will be given the option to transfer to the correct shard. And likewise, party or org members arriving to defend your base would be transferred to the shard where it's kicking off so that they can help out. Now, that was the only answer he gave, brief enough as it was, but that does clarify a lot of things. People were very much wondering if they were going to be able to be flying on their own shard, they have their own base, and someone else on another shard attacks their base that they wouldn't even know about it. And they'd come back to find out it's been razed to the ground, no notifications. So obviously this is being thought of. We'll have to see how it's implemented in game. I'm pretty certain that we've got a long way to go before we actually see homesteads and land claims in the game, but I could be wrong, but the development of Star Citizen doesn't lead me to believe that I am, so we'll have to see. Declan also answered a question regarding crafting, as I brought up. And the question was regarding the refiner fabricator item that you can have in your base for crafting, because it showed that it can only take like 1 or 2 SCU boxes. And someone was asking about blueprints requiring larger amounts of those, and if they what do they do if they have only 32 SCU containers to store them. In the tech preview that we're going to have for this, the fabricator can be input and output from your location inventory if it's within your hangar. So if you have 32 SCU boxes of iron and copper, as they're talking about, as long as that copper and iron is stored away on your freight elevator, it'll appear as materials to select for the fabricator within the UI. He also mentions that beyond the tech preview in the future, it will be more flexible and you'll be able to connect to a ship cargo grid or inventory to input materials and output the items from ships as well. And again, crafting is certainly in early stages. It's something that they've kind of pushed back in order to focus on the stability this year, whether or not you agree if they have accomplished that. But it is nice to see that this is already thought of. That would be an absolute pain in the ass if you had to break down the items that you have in their containers to put into small containers just so you can put them into your fabricators. I like that we can do it direct. In any case, folks, that is the update for this week. Aside from the drop of the 4.4 PTU and the tech test that, like I said, I was unable to take part in, this has been a quiet week. They've left the PTU test up over the weekend. We'll see. According to CIG, there is, I've got the note up here in front of you, there is the plan to drop the next patch for the 4.4 PTU later on tonight as of the recording of this video. However, I will be at work on afternoon, so I won't get to try it until tomorrow if it does come out. In any case, folks, that is the update for this week's weekly briefing. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and found it thorough. Give me a thumbs up if you found it useful or at least well done. Give me a thumbs down if not. Please do sound off in the comments below. Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think and what you're looking forward to the most with what I've been talking about in this patch. Subscribe if you're new to help me grow the channel. I'm trying to reach a massive reach of 1,000 subscribers, and we're about halfway there, so I would really appreciate it if you did that. And until next time, I've been Rage at Games, and I will see you in the verse. Bye-bye.